What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Combat Corporation, your source for combat sports. I'm your host, Al, the Postmaster Morrow, and today I have a gear review on the Fortress Boxing SS2.0V training gloves. Alright folks, as always, I'm incredibly excited to bring you yet another gear review, as today I have the Fortress SS2.0Vs. So that is the Super Strap 2.0, version 2.0, and the V stands for Velcro. And as always, I'm going to tell you exactly which model I have in case you want to give this exact model out a try. These are the 16-ounce hook and loop closure in the white and orange colorway. And you can get them, I think, in about 5 or 6 different colors. And they have really, really cool colors. And you can get them in any size from 10 to 16 ounces. And there's also a lace-up closure. But just because it's lace-up doesn't mean that you're not going to get the Super Strap, which is this part of the glove right here. But we'll go into that in a little bit more detail once we get to the breakdown of the actual design of the glove itself. Now, Fortress is a company I've known, I'd say, for about 3.5 to 4 years, and the first time I was exposed to them is when another reviewer, Fit the Box, go check out his channel, reviewed their fast straps. And their prototype basically was, instead of using gauze and tape every single day, why don't we just use this neoprene mesh type material and then have these little straps to go through your fingers. That way you don't have to keep asking your coach, tape me, wrap me every single day. And it's a really unique design. In fact, I have 3 different pairs. I have the MMA model, I have the fast model, which is just an elastic strap, and then I have the original model that I kind of tweaked myself, but the original model, I understand, has been well updated since. And it's a really cool concept, and Fortress is a really cool company. And when I saw that they had these awesome looking gloves, I had to get them. And they have my favorite material in it, which is latex to train in. So they are, yes, a puncher's glove in a lot of ways. And I knew they started to gain a lot more traction when I saw guys like Leon Edwards and Darren Till use them out of the UK. So I was really excited to get a hold of these. As always, I kind of tell you, I'm a bit more of a fan of Velcro just for convenience sake, and if I ever need to stop someone from scraping, I just tape the wrist anyway. You don't really have to worry about that with these, and I'll get to that in a couple minutes. But you do recognize these gloves on the channel. I've had them since early December, if not late November, and they were on my most used gloves of 2020, just 2020, not 2021. That's still this year. But a lot of people would say, how could you have used them that much? Because I like these gloves quite a bit. That is one thing I will say about them, is that the gloves have performed very well. It's the middle of May now. It's May 13th right now as I'm recording this. And all I can tell you is that these gloves have really impressed me. I'm very happy with this purchase. So we'll talk about the pricing and everything later, but let's go into the look of the glove. First off, Fortress is based out of the UK. And like I said, I just named 2 big UK guys in the MMA world. And you can see that we have the Fortress logo here. In orange is that logo, and it says Fortress Boxing across, and the boxing lettering is spaced out in black. On the thumb, we have SS2.0V, so it even tells you that it's Velcro right there. And I like that little circle they put around it, like SS. I always think about like the ship, the SS, whatever it might be. And then all throughout the punch surface and the thumb is a white background except for the logo, which is orange. Now when we go to the bottom of the glove, talking about the wrist, it says SS2.0. It should say V right there too, yep. Right across the actual super strap mechanism, that's what it is. And then once you go to the bottom wrist cuff, it's all in white with orange piping. And that's the same thing throughout the palm of the glove. You basically get that split color here. And the laces are white as well. You can see, you get that split color orange and white here with a white strip for the thumb piping here. Okay, the Velcro is of course black, it usually is. And then right at the bottom, it tells you exactly 16 ounces. So we got some pretty cool basic designs here. But for the glove itself, it functions really well. When we talk about the design of the glove, I said it is very much a puncher's glove because you have very soft, supple cowhide leather, and they make it a point to let you know this too. It is leather piping too. It's not cheap plastic piping, it's leather piping too. It puts it right on there. It's just including piping. I don't know why I found that so interesting, but I did. And they have really nice soft latex on the inside of a glove, and that's exactly what we got here. If I fold it in, that classic latex pop, and it pops right back. It's a very soft latex compared to a lot of other latexes out there, but it's a thick latex too. You got about 1.5 inches, 2 inches of solid, nice, plush, soft latex in that soft leather. And there's a good chunk of leather that you can pull off this glove here. It's kind of hard to tell because of how white it is, but there's a lot of leather here that I'm pulling off. It doesn't mean that the leather is loose, it just means it's a very thick hide. But it's a thick, soft, supple hide, which makes a true puncher's glove to me. If it has stiff leather, that means that the shell on the outside is going to confine the padding from actually indenting and going inward. Kind of like when you feel a Reyes glove, it's very soft leather, and that's the same thing that you get here. So it's a very good quality, durable outer layer. The only thing I will say about it is that maybe it's just because it's white paint, but it kind of chipped a little bit here at the bottom, and it might be because the super strap might be just scraping it and rubbing it off, which is going to happen in time. You know, don't get me wrong, that will happen. And I think it might have happened to this one too, a little bit towards the bottom. If you see like across the wrist cuff here, it's a little bit worn, but that's such a small complaint, you don't really have room to make it, I guess is the way to word it. But going into the actual design, why it's called the super strap is because of the super strap right here. So the idea behind this is it stabilizes your wrist. Obviously you got the bottom wrist strap that's going to keep your wrist locked on, and honestly the wrist support still here is good, but with most puncher's gloves they're separate. Usually the top part is made and then they stitch it to the bottom part here, which means that this kind of rolls around a bit, which means it could go up and down very easily, and right now it can. But with the super strap, I strap it across my wrist and it stabilizes my wrist a little bit more. Not a whole awful lot, but enough to where I know I am a bit more secure, a bit more comfortable. The other thing is that the Velcro is super strong, and it's a pretty tight fitting glove. It's kind of hard to get my hand out, right? But you know, if I had hand wraps on, that just never would have happened. So it's very tightly secured to your wrist and to your hand. Excellent wrist support for that reason. And because of the thick latex here, it kind of reminds me of a Grant, only with much softer padding, honestly. And that's the thing, if I take a Grant, you can kind of see how they're somewhat similar in the way that they're rounded off. You know, I would say that the fingers curl down a little bit more, and we'll go into that in a second. The thumb is pretty much just as fat, in my opinion, I'd say. I honestly like the Fortress thumb a lot better. And it's not as stiff as a Grant per se. You know, that's the one thing I really like it, is that it's not as stiff. And the lace-up model that you get with these also have the super strap just for that added wrist support. Although with the laces, I guess something would always help. It could also help keep the laces in place so you don't have to maybe tape it, or so you don't have to, you know, get, our gym, we use like those wristbands, and then we just like stretch them over our gloves after to just kind of keep the laces from flopping all over the place. So that's a really cool feature that they have here with that. So not only do you have a really nice plush inside and a really nice wrist support mechanism down here, and that's something I love when companies try to revolutionize something, and they have. They did a really good job. The leather on the outside, I will say, creases and stains a little bit worse than some other gloves out there, but I think that's just because, once again, I picked white. I feel like a different color might be a little bit different, and sometimes it sounds stupid, but it depends on the dyes you put onto the hide will actually change whether it's a little bit more stiff, whether it's not. And a good example of that is my top boxer alien gloves that I have. The yellow SpongeBob leather that I have is very soft and supple, while the pink leather on the Patrick glove is a little bit more stiff. So that's just something, it might be the dye inside of the glove that's actually changing stuff around. But when we go to the inside of the glove here, as usual, you have your, you know, satin nylon type of mesh here, and it's very soft, very plush on the inside. It's a very comfortable feel. And we also have that nice elastic band so your glove doesn't fan out like this when you're trying to put it on. And also while I'm looking at the palm, you can see that we got double stitching all the way throughout until we get to the thumb, which by the way has that Grant type winning type thumb deal going on here where it's separate. And it's a pretty fat thumb. It's actually a little bit stiffer towards the top of the thumb, kind of like most Grant models would be. And the only reason I'm not saying these are Grant replicas, they're not by any stretch, but they're closer to Grants than any glove that I can really think of. But Fortress definitely has their own thing going on. And then also you have some, I assume like most companies use, it's a softer EVA foam in the wrist palm area here. And the grip bar is a very soft grip bar as well. So overall it's a very soft plush glove, and you also have some padding right here at the back of the wrist, which feels nice. When we put the glove on, the first thing you notice is that you have plenty of room to move your hand around in, especially when you're trying to wrap your hands, you know, in gauze and tape. And I imagine that they did that on purpose because you have the fast wraps that they can use. And of course, when you use the fast wraps, they work perfect together within the glove, right? And the padding goes up just enough to where it's nice fit, it's form-fitting, and everything else is very nice on the inside when you wear gauze and tape, or if you wrap your hands, or even if you don't wrap your hands, you're pretty good. You know, for a puncher's glove, I can, unlike Grant, I can feel my knuckles a little bit more here because of how soft the latex is, so I like it. I would say, like, at the end of the day, it's kind of like Reyes and Grant had a love child, and they have this. But Fortress, once again, has their own thing going on. It's just my opinion at the end of the day. But you can definitely feel your knuckles go through, your fingers go through to your knuckles, rather. And it's definitely soft on the inside. And the only thing I would say that's a little annoying is that after a while, I've noticed that the inside lining towards the tips of the fingers tends to unravel and kind of get bunched up. And so I have to really kind of move it here. I don't know if you can see my fingers here, like moving by the grip bar. But I have to like move it all over the place and then fit my hand nice and snug, and that's for the right glove as well. And then it really bunches up bad in the thumb, so I really have to move the thumb. But the thing is, when you have nice plush linings like this, that kind of happens. It's kind of like getting it's like the idea of getting a fleece blanket or something where it's very warm, it's very comfortable, it's very nice, but it bunches up so easy. It's hard to get out of. It gets sucky when you kind of get it moist and you don't like it. It's kind of like that. So these gloves do take a little bit longer to dry out than some other gloves, in my opinion, but it feels like a very soft, like dry fit type pillow to my hand. But with that said, it's still very comfortable, and the thumb has good enough space. You know, I guess like most people will kind of complain about, you know, thumbs being too detached or too attached. It moves perfectly. It opens very well. So if you like Muay Thai training, you can always grip the wrist, grip the forearm, and grip the back of the neck too. And it also parries very well too. It's a very, I think it's because of how soft the glove is. It's a very good glove to catch. Very good for everything that you're doing. And the thumb is very free fitting. Honestly, I've never really smashed my thumb in these. It has very good thumb position, but the one thing I will say is I could see how you could, because you can space it out pretty good here. You know, but I kind of prefer that compared to other gloves. You know, some people will complain out there that gloves open too much. This I feel opens just enough. But let's go to the bag work and the model sparring view so you can see exactly how these gloves fit in action.
All right, so hitting the bag with these are just fun. That's the easiest way to describe it. It has a really unique puncher's feel that not a whole lot of gloves pull off at the end of the day, and that's the one thing I really like about these. They're puffier and they're a lot thicker, but it's such soft latex that it feels like I get like an extra bounce, but you definitely feel a bit more of a protection on your knuckles than you say would a Reyes or something along those lines. So if you do really like a puncher's feel and maybe you have softer hands, it might not be a bad idea to give these gloves a shot. I've never jammed my wrist. Obviously, the super strap feels awesome on my wrist. You feel that comfort there. They're very light gloves for what they are, even though they weigh right on 16 ounces. And that's really hard to do with some latex paddings. So showing you that Fortress logo right up close in the SS2.0, they are a really standout glove. I mean, they just look sharp at all times. That's the thing. With white gloves, it's awesome, and that nice orange logo pops right out at you. I think if anyone in this gym or in your gym uses these, you're going to get a lot of comments. I know I do. These for sure are a sharp looking glove. They have really cool designs. I think you're going to enjoy getting hit by these.
All right, folks, my final verdict on these gloves is I like them a lot, and I would recommend them to a lot of people. But there are a few things I think would well suit Fortress to change around, but not a whole lot out there. First off, they're made in Pakistan, which nothing's wrong with that. In fact, I prefer most Pakistan-made gloves compared to a lot of other places like China or Indonesia and stuff like that, because those gloves still feel like they fall apart relatively quick. I would say my favorite places that gloves are made, usually Thailand, they're very well made, but I think they fade out a little bit faster than others, but Mexico and Pakistan for sure. But I feel like with most puncher's gloves, you think of Mexico, and I don't think Mexico with these gloves, if that makes any sense. The first glove I think about when someone says a Mexican-style puncher's glove is Eclateres, of course. You know, and there's a lot of other brands out there. Grant usually makes their stuff in Mexico, New Sporting or Sabas, and a couple other people make gloves in Mexico, and they have that nice raw cowhide feeling to it. And I feel that, but if I were to compare how the leather feels, I would say it's closer to the Ringside Heritage, like the drum-dyed leather type feel. And that's exactly what I get with these types of gloves here. The leather's very durable. I'm not for a second saying that it's not. It's very soft, very supple, and it feels like a puncher's glove. But I will say the leather compared to, say, like a Grant or like a Reyes may not be as thick and as durable. It doesn't feel that way to me, but that's just my perception. I'm not saying that the outer shell is going to flake or fall apart on you, but I will say that it kind of happened a little bit down there. But once again, I think that's because something rubbed on it. I think it just took the paint off. I don't think anything else really happened there. But the outer shell is very good. It still smells like a brand new leather shoe, but to me, the leather on the outside feels kind of like that Ringside Heritage, and that's kind of what you get because all of Ringside stuff is made inside of Pakistan. You know, a lot of gloves are made inside Pakistan. Super rare gloves are made inside Pakistan, and it has that same feel, like with the super rare black gloves or the super rare gel gloves. They have that same feel as far as the leather goes. I will say that there's a lot more leather to pull away from here, and it feels like there's even like it's a weird type of lining inside the leather that makes that even soft. It feels like they put like a felt type thing on the other side of the leather, which is really interesting, and I really like that. So that's definitely a plus. But I also think a lot of it kind of comes into the color I picked. White is usually a softer color, if that makes any sense. You know, most of the time people get black gloves and they don't look old or wrinkled or anything because they're black. It's a very dark color compared to a very bright, vibrant color like white. And orange is going to crease a little bit more. You're going to show more signs of wear. But this glove, I wouldn't say has shown more signs of wear for what I've used it for. But I will say it definitely looks like they're a bit older than the amount of time I've had them. They look like I've had these for about a year and a half, almost 2 years. I've only had them since December. So I don't think it's because the quality's not there. I just think maybe it's a different type of material that is used. So for me, I wouldn't say that it's less durable, but I would say that it definitely feels different from most puncher's gloves you get. But I for sure don't think that's what Fortress was just aiming for. I think they were aiming for their own thing, and they don't really care about the other gloves out there. They care more about what they're doing. So in that regard, Fortress did their job very well. The padding on the inside is very soft. It's very plush latex, and it's very thick latex. And thick, soft latex, I prefer to thick to dense latex, like these Grants, right? I used them earlier, but I mean, I've had these things for a long time, and it's still just annoying. It bounces back a bit quicker, I think, but it's just so thick, and it's cumbersome on the inside, and I don't get that so much with this. I also don't like the interior lining as much with Grants, because I like a softer glove. The only thing I will say is with these, the interior lining is frustrating sometimes. It's flat out annoying. I don't know if it's just the model glove that I had, but it drives me nuts because it just falls and like fiddles all over my fingers and hands. I have to really move it to get away from that. And I would expect that's more of a Pakistan issue. You even get gloves from Top Boxer that are made in Pakistan that do that. So you get a lot of really good brands in Pakistan. They usually have either A, the same great qualities, or B, the same issues, right? And the reason why is because most Pakistan like manufacturing plants make the same stuff. Like if you take a super rare glove and a ringside glove together, if you take a ringside gel shock and a super rare super gel, you can't tell me that they're not the same glove. They are. They're made in the same exact factory probably. Everyone's going, oh, they're a little bit different. They're not. They're really not, other than they're, well, no, they both have gel in it too. It's IMF Tech Foam and gel. Granted, this is latex, so that's much different, and I do think this glove it blows those two out of the water, in my opinion. But that's just where I'm at. Would I give them to like a professional? Absolutely. Do I think a professional will use these like once a camp? No, I think they'd last them at least 2 or 3 camps if they're really beating these things into the ground. But that's the thing about these gloves is I don't know if I'd say they would last quite as long as a Reyes, as a Grant, as a Winning, or all those gloves out there. Although if you ask FitTheBox, who is a lot more familiar with these, he'd probably tell you they would. But for sure, for the price range that you get these for, it's 134 British pounds usually, but they're on sale right now for, I think, 99 pounds. So 99 pounds is $130, and then 134 pounds is, I believe, $188, plus the shipping to get to the States, probably about 20 bucks. So they're putting it in that price range of, say, a Cleto Reyes or a good Sabas glove, good Top Boxer glove. Top Boxer's a little bit cheaper. But I definitely think that if you're looking to try a pro puncher glove that will last you a long time, and if you want something that has more padding than a Reyes does, this glove might be good for you. Now, would I recommend it to people with brittle hands? Yes and no. And the reason why I say that is because when you break these gloves in, and it does not take long to do that, these broke in within a couple sessions with me. In fact, when you get it, it kind of has that broken in feel. But it is very soft and it smushes in very easy, like most latex gloves do. And although it's thick, kind of like a Grant style of padding, you can see that they're kind of the same thickness here. This is much softer than Grant is, and the hide on this is much softer than Grant is, in my opinion. It's a softer and supple hide, right? It can bend very easily. So I don't know if you have brittle hands, but I would definitely say give them a shot. And if you don't have good luck with them, for one, my bad. And for two, Fortress has awesome customer service. They're very vocal, and they'd be able to help you out with that. But I wouldn't say I recommend them necessarily to someone that has brittle hands, like Stephen Thompson that breaks his hands every time he fights. But someone like Darren Till, who's a gorilla, as his name is, that uses these and never has hand issues, I imagine that he does very well with these, and he uses Reyes all the time. If you're a puncher and you want like a bigger glove, because it is a pretty big glove, it can fit next to my head, and it defends very well too. If you are a defensive type guy that wants like a Grant-like glove that is softer and more of a puncher, then definitely go with these. I think it's a very good, very, very, very good glove for that. At the end of the day, if I had to give it anything for the price that you're getting and then everything else, I'd definitely say the glove is a solid 8 out of 10 for me. I wish the leather maybe lasted. I just don't know if I see the glove lasting something like a Reyes or like a Grant. I don't even know about Grant, honestly. I don't use them as much as I do my Reyes, but my Reyes has been going for 5 years strong now or longer. I don't know if I would be able to use them as much if I use the Reyes and say that the padding lasted and the glove lasted that long. The other thing I would say is fix the interior lining, tighten it somehow. I don't know why it does that, but it jumbles around my thumbs, my fingers, drives me nuts. I hate that compared to anything else, because it just makes me have to do this every time I spar, every time I hit the bag. It makes it very hard to form a proper fist, which could then result in bad hand injuries. But once again, that's probably just my pair of gloves, but a lot of Pakistan-made gloves do that. So maybe people that make stuff in Pakistan should take a class from someone like in Mexico or something, or Japan. Japan, to me, has the best interior linings, right? Whenever gloves are made in Japan, they have a good one. But the stitching's great. The quality of the glove overall is great. I think the price is right there for the point that you're asking. I definitely would get these compared to some of the gloves that I mentioned earlier, like the Ringside Heritage. As much as I love Ringside, those are overpriced. Compared to this, it's right in the ballpark. I definitely say if they sold this for like $120 flat all the time, kind of like Top Boxer does with most of their gloves, I think they'd sell out immediately. Granted, I think they're selling out regardless. They're a very, very good pair of gloves. I'd recommend them to just about anyone to try. I do think if you might have some knuckle or hand issues, I wouldn't say avoid them. I'd say give them a shot, and if they don't work out for you, look into investing to a bit more of a stiffer glove that has a bit, like, plusher padding than this. But overall, Fortress did a really good job with the SS2.0. And of course, if you don't like the wrist support with the Velcro, they come in lace-up. Anywhere from 10 to 16 ounces, tons of colorways, so that's always a plus as well. That's why I'm giving it an 8 out of 10 today. Just fix those two issues. And honestly, the first one isn't so much of an issue, so I guess I could even give it a 9 out of 10. I love using them on bag work, sparring work. They're safe for it all. They're a great training glove, and I recommend it to anybody, except for maybe if you have some bad hands, like I said earlier. But folks, with that said, thanks for watching the Combat Corporation, your source for combat sports. Check out Fortress Boxing if you want to try these. I'll put these in the link in the description below. As always, if you have any recommendations, send them in the comment section below or message me on any form of social media, primarily Instagram. That's what I'm usually on. All right, folks, I'll see you on the next episode.